Jayson Hajdu, can we bring him in, Director of Communications for College Hockey Inc. Jayson, before we go any further, would you tell the folks, you and I have known of each other a real long time, but you've been down there a real long time. Can you just, before we talk about the draft this weekend, just tell them your story?
Sure, absolutely. And first of all, thanks for having me on. We always appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk college hockey with you. But yeah, I'm Regina, Saskatchewan, born and raised. Lived there till I was 17 years old. Proud graduate of Balfour Collegiate, and I ended up at the University of North Dakota to go to college, and I ended up with an internship in the sports information department at North Dakota, and I ended up staying at UND for more than 20 years. Loved it, just fell in love with the place, fell in love with the profession. It was the opportunity to, watch and write about sports for a living. And 2018, 2019, we made the move to Kansas City. My wife had a wonderful career opportunity in Kansas City. So we made the move, and we've been here ever since. And this will be my fourth year with College Hockey Inc. now, and just a great fit so far, and really proud of the work we do.
You guys do great work, and isn't it great that we can do our trade from anywhere? So you've been on this college hockey scene for a long time, is my point.
Yeah.
So how is this weekend's NHL draft lining up for college hockey players, do you think, well, we know who the number one pick's going to be, so we'll get to that. But in terms of numbers eligible and who you think's going to go, how do you think this weekend's going to fare for NCAA?
Yeah, this is shaping up to be another great draft for college hockey players and incoming college hockey recruits. I think there were over 100 NCAA bound or NCAA currently playing NCAA players on the Central Scouting rankings. Like you said, we all know about Macklin Celebrini, the tremendous freshman from Boston University who won the Hobey Baker Award as a 17-year-old. He played the entire college hockey season at 17. He turned 18 2 weeks ago, I believe. And just for a little bit of context, the average freshman makes their college debut at about 20 and a half years old. So for Macklin to do what he did as a 17-year-old is pretty unprecedented. But there are a lot of other storylines to watch from our perspective. There are two other players ranked in the top 4 North American skaters for Central Scouting. Zeev Buyam is a defenseman for Denver, a really dynamic offensive player. And Artem Levshinov is a big all-around defenseman for Michigan State. Those two are also inside the top 4 for North American skaters. I think there's a chance we could see 10-plus college hockey players or incoming college hockey recruits go in the first round again this year. And that would continue a trend that we've seen in the last few years. Really, really good showing the last few years for college hockey players.
Last year, there was, amongst people that know the game, zero debate that Connor Bedard would play in Chicago at 18. But, Jayson, I'm hearing more and more debate that Macklin Celebrini might go back to Boston U at 18. What do you think the chances are that he doesn't stay in San Jose?
It's hard to say. They're saying all of the right things. His camp is saying all of the right things. San Jose is saying all of the right things. It's funny, all those years I worked at North Dakota with the hockey team, and in the years since that I've been with College Hockey Inc., I've never encountered a player who said, I stayed in college hockey 1 year too long. You will find a lot of players who said, yeah, I probably left a year too early. I should have at least come back for one more year. And our data shows that coming back is always beneficial to the player in terms of enhancing their chances for future NHL success. But I come back to, and I'll paraphrase here, Jay Pandolfo is Macklin Celebrini's coach at BU, and he said, you know what, I can't look Macklin in the eye today and say, you're not ready for the NHL. It's going to be his decision. So ultimately, it's the player's decision, as it probably should be. So I'm guessing we'll know sooner than later.
Did we lose him? I feel like, let me know if we got Jayson. Oh, there you go. There you go. Sorry, you froze for a second, but we got you now. I guess it's a case-by-case scenario, because when Owen Power went back to Michigan, we were all like, and seems to have worked out fine for him. Wouldn't you say it has to do with, I don't know these players, but maturity level, physical maturity level, emotional, it would be different in every case, I would think.
Yeah, and what's the dynamic between the team that drafted him and the college team he plays for and that coaching staff? and Owen Power was one of them. Matty Beniers, that same Michigan team, also came back for a second year, as did Ken Johnson on that loaded Michigan team. Cale Makar was another one that came back for a second year. And clearly those extra years of development didn't hurt the players. So I think it's a combination of things: on-ice readiness, off-ice maturity, which franchise has the players' rights, and what's the dynamic between that staff and the college staff.
How much... I don't want to put you on the spot here because I know it's such a touchy subject, but how much are you guys watching the Junior A wars in Canada? I would suggest quite a bit, Jayson.
You are putting me on the spot. We do keep an eye on it.
I'm sorry.
With a lot of leagues.
I'm sorry. We have
great relationships with those leagues, and we do keep an eye on it, and we are in contact with the folks who run those leagues, and try to keep our finger on the pulse as best we can. It's been an interesting several months, all over the place in sports. Really, the NCAA is no different too, with all the different legal actions that are being taken against the NCAA and how that might affect the CHL eligibility rule that's been talked about a lot. So we're keeping our eye on a number of different storylines developing out there. It's a changing world.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've made a career of talking about the touchy subjects, sometimes at my own peril, but I just wonder why it has gone the way that it has and why it's become so touchy. I mean, I think you know that I live in Florida 9 months out of the year, so with college sports, that's number one down there. So between NIL and transfer portal, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. What do you think has led to, just in hockey alone, how touchy it is? Why do you think that is?
It's probably a number of things, but I think one of the largest factors is just the players, the student athletes, trying to assert more control over their own careers, so to speak, and their own fate, which is great. We're all for that. I think that's obviously odds a lot of times with the coaches, particularly the more old school coaches, old school administrators. You hope they can find some middle ground. We do root for the players to be empowered, the student athletes to be empowered, but obviously those values might not always align on both sides. So it's been fascinating to watch, and you kind of got to stay nimble, and it's been hard to predict. It's been hard. I've worked in a university, and I know from their standpoint, it's a totally different world than it was 20 years ago or even 5-10 years ago. And it's really hard to be proactive and predict what's coming next, but you have to be prepared to do so. It's the old Billy Beane Moneyball line: adapt or die, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm kind of sitting back just watching it because I'm friends on both sides, and you are too. Yeah. And it's just the coaches are mad because they're like, I thought we had a deal. A deal's a deal. Yet we've all been screwed over by so many teams and employers over the years. I kind of get where the players are coming from too. The problem is the players don't really know what's best for them, right? That's the tough part.
Yeah, they have a lot of different voices in their ear, and that's one area where we try to help is present players and their parents and anyone else in their orbit that informs them and helps inform their decision making. We try to arm them with facts. We are a nonprofit. We don't charge for our services. We want to present them the data to make the most informed decision, because like you said, at 14, 15, 16, that's almost impossible. You don't it's a big decision at a young age. So that's where we come in. But it's been interesting in college hockey because you're right. Coaches used to map their incoming classes 4 and 5 years out. I've seen those whiteboards in the coaches' locker rooms, and now it's year to year. And even within college hockey, you have different factions, so to speak, of who wants what and how they want this to look going forward, because some schools are benefiting from the current landscape and some are being harmed by it. So, I don't know where it goes next. It's obviously a big talking point, bigger than ever probably. And I know the college hockey coaching body has formed a committee to start looking at this closely and try and get ahead of it and anticipate some unintended consequences and be ready for whatever does come next.
Just lastly, what are you going to be watching for the most this weekend at the NHL draft, Jayson?
Oh, a lot. Macklin Celebrini obviously is the key storyline, as well as some of those other players in the top 5. But I'm curious to see, there's a number of incoming forwards, especially that are ranked pretty highly by Central Scouting. I'm curious to see how many of those individuals can crack into the top 10. We've had really good numbers in terms of college hockey at the draft the last few years. I believe there were 14 first-round picks playing college hockey this past season. And I'm going to have my eye on the NHL awards tomorrow night. We've got 2 of the 3 Norris finalists played college hockey. 2 of the 3 Vezina finalists played college hockey. 2 of the 3 Calder, did I say Calder? Calder, Norris, and Vezina. 2 of the 3 finalists for each of those awards are college hockey alums. So it's great to see that. It's great to see not only the quantity, but the quality of college hockey that has really emerged the last several years.
That's right. It's a fantastic weekend coming up. Jayson, thank you for the time. Wonderful chat and your longtime support. I want to thank you for that. And enjoy the hockey this week.
Appreciate it, Rod. Thanks for having me on.